Edwards of River Talk, and I'm here with Heather, Kaylee, and Aaron. And today our topic is terrorism. And I want to jump right in by asking each of you to define in your own words what you think terrorism is.
I think terrorism is just a group of people instilling fear and using violence to get their way and get their point across to another group of people.
I think it involves a lot of intimidation in order to instill their political stakes. A lot of it is about religion.
To me, terrorism is just like another certain group taking the innocent lives of other certain group of people, and it shouldn't be tolerated in any situation or form of action.
All right, a couple of you have said that it's political and religious, so where exactly is it coming from? Is it coming within our own states, or is it coming from other countries?
Well, I guess terrorism exists anywhere that the people are inhabited. Sorry, I lost my thought. Kylie?
I think what we're currently dealing with right now is terrorism overseas, but I feel that terrorism is an issue that is domestic and abroad. ISIS is a big issue right now, which hasn't really been mentioned at all lately in the elections and the polls with all the candidates, but with the recent terrorist attack out west, I think that it's something that needs to be more carefully monitored.
Terrorism can happen happen anywhere. If you look at the last terrorism, big terrorism that it caused, the huge Iraq War, 9/11, of course. Hate to bring it up, but it happened, and you can't take it away. Take that away from us, us Americans. But you can get terrorism can happen anytime, any place, any situation, or any form. That's my look on that.
All right. You mentioned ISIS, and Aaron, you mentioned just now 9/11 as instances of terrorism. Would you all agree that it is something that is imminent, that it is going to happen within this year at least, or do you think we have more time to plan and figure out what our next step should be as a country?
I think it can happen at any time. We weren't anticipating 9/11 at all, and it just happened. So I think any kind of act can just happen at a whim. But I think we should be more prepared than we are, because we are not prepared at all.
I don't think a terrorist attack is something you can necessarily plan for and have training for terrorist attacks, but I do think it's a means of increasing our national security and possibly border control and maybe individuals that we let into our country in the first place. Sometimes we wonder how these terrorists got through.
Well, speaking of the people overseas, as in ISIS, ISIS is a very smart group if you think about it. They're planning on controlling the Middle East area, and they do it with they got our kind of weapons, which our weapons are really powerful, and then they can do possibly anything. They can attack us any way. They can attack other they can attack any of our allies, and then what are we gonna do? Just saying, going back to Paris, they just attacked. They attacked Paris, and then Paris of course did the air bombs or whatever, and then as well as going back into the future. Going to the future, they can attack any way or shape or form. They have the brains, they have the weapons, and they have possibly anything they can do. So what we need to do is that we need to have allies. We need to get more allies and make sure we put that ISIS group on watch.
Define ISIS being smart.
ISIS being smart, they are as in controlling the oil, this systems where they are in all the oil industry. That is a big popular thing that we possibly get our oil from, is in that areas where they're controlling it, and that's also involves the trade talks with like in that area as well.
We have ethanol.
And that is true.
I don't think they know how to use firearms as well as we do.
They do, but they don't. But they have the power of the of our weapons, and they are pretty smart on what they do over there. They wouldn't attack Paris like out of nowhere.
But they did. They attacked Paris out of nowhere.
Yeah. So I worded that wrong. Sorry. And then like when they attacked Paris, how would they like?
They spray bullets.
Yeah.
That's it.
They don't know how to hold it. All the pictures that have been released, they're holding the firearms in the completely wrong form, and let alone their accuracy probably is next to nothing, because what they focus on is beheading.
They blow each
Yes.
other's heads off in training. They destroy their own people via training, which is absolutely not even close to what Americans do when we train for defense. They don't care about their own people.
I'm not saying that our people are smarter, or are not so sorry, or that our people are dumber than them. What I'm saying is that they have our weapons, and they have the power to do anything that what we can do. They might not be as smarter, but they have the power to do it. That's what I meant. Sorry for the missing explanation.
You're saying they have the same capability to attack,
Yes.
and that is something we need.
Yes.
But they don't
They
go
have the
overboard.
resources.
But they don't go to the
they
full
don't
potential.
They don't have the training. They don't have the qualifications.
Yes.
Understandable. Taking a step back to the previous question of whether or not we can prepare for this attack, there were some people who were very upset after 9/11 when airport security was increased, and a lot of people called that an invasion of privacy. There are also some people who are concerned that we are going into other countries when we shouldn't be there in order to help prepare for these attacks. Do you agree or disagree, and where would we draw the line in that matter?
I believe that for us going into foreign countries, as long as we have the okay with the officials and everything, I think that's fine, as long as it ultimately leads to the best decision for our safety. As for the increased security for airports and stuff, I believe it's a little extreme, but it's what is needed. At an airport, I've never not felt safe. And I've never not felt unsafe, sorry. And so with everything all the precautions that they have, I think it's for the best in this kind of society.
I'd have to agree with Heather. I don't think anybody really does feel unsafe at an airport. However, maybe slightly invaded. I know people are very passionate about their privacy, and unfortunately, there's really nothing stated about privacy in the Constitution. We don't really have. Privacy is a big issue with some of the amendments, as far as raiding people's homes or the government tapping into our phones. That's been a big issue lately. In San Bernardino, Apple is being requested to open the woman's phone who was involved in the terrorist attack, and Apple doesn't want to create a program to be able to get into her phone, because if they make it accessible for one phone, it will be accessible for all phones, which would be very catastrophic for the privacy of Americans. And I think spying, as far as Americans entering other countries, whether it's okay or not okay, or whether they know we're there or not, I think the issue of spying is going to happen regardless of it being relevant to a terrorist attack, or it's been happening for hundreds of years.
Going back to the airport, I recently flew to Florida from Chicago O'Hare, probably one of the busier airports in the United States, and they are very high security with like what they do, and it's like realistically, and they're trying to get as many people in through the gates as possible, because they're people come and go from Chicago O'Hare as for business people even on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then also when I was on vacation, I heard on the news that they wanted to get for people to fly, even go through the United States. They wanted to have the people actually have a passport and to fly in the United States to make sure that it's hard to really copy a passport to and instead of like a ID that you live in Iowa or whatever, because a passport is I have one and it's more high end like driver's license. That's my opinion on a passport, which I think it's really smart, and because a passport lasts, if you're 18 or older, it lasts 10 years. So, and it's $80, I believe, to get one, and it's 5 years if you're under the age of 18. But if you go into the if you go into like if you're going to be 18, it's 10 years.
That is only for people of Illinois and 2 other states for having a passport, because everyone can duplicate Illinois, and I can't name the other 2 right now. So that is not for the whole country. That's just for.
Yes.
What do you mean they can duplicate?
It's just saying like for fake IDs, which is just saying anyone can go out. Well, not anyone, but people with the means, like the technology and the material, they can make fake IDs. And Illinois is very easy to duplicate, and that's why it's hard for people to just trust and rely on an Illinois ID, which is why it might be an issue with the passport thing. It's not certain, but it's been an issue coming up. So now going back onto that, do you think that would be a good idea for all 50 states to do that if you're going into an airport?
I think airport security is a necessary evil, and definitely I think airport security is a necessary evil, and it's very easy for terrorists to take advantage of a situation like that, or anybody with bad intentions, because there's so much going on. There's hundreds or maybe even thousands of people going through at any given time, and it's very easy to get distracted in a situation like that. But as far as the idea of some sort of passport to travel within the country or to board a plane, I know so many people with fake IDs, and they are used often. And I'm not sure what kind of technology it's going to take to be able to not replicate a passport in order to travel aboard a plane.
So you're saying the passport would be a good idea, wouldn't it, to have instead of using that driver's license?
I don't think a passport is the most efficient form of a secure method of flying. Like I just said, people replicate IDs all the time. College kids use fake IDs often. So what's going to stop terrorists, who you claim are extremely intelligent and have all the means that we do, from replicating our identification?
That's a fair point. So far we've given our viewers what we see as terrorism, and we've given them an insight on things that have been taking place, going into other countries, stricter security, trying to take these measures. And a large part about running for a presidency is not only making sure that they're going to benefit our nation, but being able to protect it as well. Can any of you give insight to some of the presidents some of the candidates who are running for president now, what their view on terrorism is? And how they're going to try and defend our country?
Well, for Bernie Sanders, which is a popular candidate for Democrats, basically he's just saying he thinks that the best idea is to just cut off ISIS funding and end support for the exporting radical ideologies. And what gets me about that, which I agree with those, but the fact that he thinks that the military force should be a last resort and not a first resort. And then, which just kind of throws me off, because to deal with terrorism, who think violence is the answer to everything, you kind of need to counteract it with your own type of violence. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have Donald Trump, who wants to blow up everything over there. And that would be just catastrophic. So you need to find a happy medium between that. You can't just not say that, oh, let's just be peace and, you know, and then, or just blow up everything. And then it just doesn't work that way.
The problem with the peace doves, the idea, the thought of it is great, but
It's not
terrorists
realistic.
don't care about your families. They don't care about anybody. They don't even care about themselves. They're willing to die for their cause in a second. And they will kill you and your children and your spouse and at your peace rally. They don't care. And I think we need somebody who is not going to use the military as a last resort, considering the fact that our country spends, I think almost our #1 spending is on defense. I really don't think that our military should be the last resort.
We really need somebody that is willing to negotiate, try to get more allies, try to defeat this ISIS, because while we grow older and we have families and have children, I feel that I don't want to have to earlier, and these happened at in San Bernardino or in elementary school. We don't want our kids to die from a random terrorist attack from the so-called ISIS when we get older, when we have our children, because that's our generation, that's the next generation up, and that's our family that we really care about, and we brought them to the earth. It's a sickening thing to think about that our children are not safe in this world anymore.
Well, that gives us an idea of how you guys see what we need to do in terrorism and what kind of a plan you guys would like, but have any of the candidates actually given a plan, put forward a plan for it, or even an outline for it?
I haven't heard a thing about terrorism lately in ISIS.
It's because they're quiet right now and it's not a big deal. It's not in the mainstream media. So why should anyone think about it? Why should anyone care? So the politicians are just throwing that in the back burner, basically,
Yes.
and they're just focusing on being elected. And they're not, by focusing on being elected, they're just focusing on attacking each other. And it's just not, we're not being informed about their plans, if they even have one.
Yeah, well, our political parties are attacking each other. Another group is planning on attacking us in the big picture. So I feel that addressing the issue of terrorism is not a frequency that should happen as often as when the situation occurs. You shouldn't wait for something to happen in order to do something about it.
As I watched a couple of debates, I'll probably talk a little bit quickly on this. It's all been focused on our economy and what we need to do to having a better economy. But if you think about it, you have ISIS they can pop anywhere at any time, and we need to do something about it, and it needs to happen fast.
Well, we've covered what terrorism is, how it's affecting us all, and where our presidents stand on it. Do you have any final comments on your opinions personally and what you think the nation should do as a whole towards this?
I hope that as far as our political figures, I wish that maybe we could have individuals who want to be a good example for our country and bring our people together like they all talk about but don't do, instead of attack each other.
I just wish Obama, was at the end? Oh, sorry, I apologize. I just wish Obama would just admit that there is a problem and there is something that he should be doing.
We need to bond together as people instead of parties, and think as one, as the United States of America, instead of two groups. We need to all come in as one and defeat the purpose and get smarter to beat terrorism.
All right. Well, we're River Talk, and this was a segment on terrorism. Thanks for listening.